Objectification is reducing a multidimensional human being to the physical body alone by focusing only on the surface of the physical body and the extensions of the physical body, for example, clothing, accessories, and especially food. It is a workplace bullying technique, and it overlaps with other workplace bullying techniques. In particular, it is a form of harassment, and it is also a passive-aggressive form of physical violence. Objectification in the workplace takes the form of workplace bullies' unrelenting obsession with every single aspect of the target's physical body. Workplace bullies are obsessed with the target's physical body. Everything the target is wearing, and especially everything the target is eating. Almost every sentence that comes out of the bullies' mouths begins with "you look" or "you look like." The most common targets for the workplace bullies' obsession with the target's physical body are the target's hair, and especially the target's food. Workplace bullies are obsessed with your food. But to quote Tyra Banks, it is H to T, head to toe objectification, and the objectification knows no bounds. You would think personal details like age, and especially the more intimate sexual parts of a person's body, would be off limits in the workplace. But workplace bullies find ways to comment on even those things too, with comments like "you look young," or by introducing another workplace bullying technique, the technique of staring at, for example, the target's butt and commenting on the target's weight loss. Objectification can take the form of complissalts, introducing another workplace bullying technique, the technique of insults. Workplace bullies say they like some aspect of the target's physical body, for example, "I like your shirt," but they really don't. Objectification can also take the form of open-ended declarative statements that sound as though they are questions, but to which there are no answers. Workplace bullies make a "you look" or "you look like" statement, stand, stare at the target, and wait for a response. For example, if you are 6'5", workplace bullies say repeatedly, "You're tall," stand, stare at you, and wait for a response. Objectification in the workplace exposes the inherent gender bias pervasive throughout any workplace bullying environment because it primarily takes the form of women objectifying other women. Like the workplace bullying technique of physical violence, objectification is more likely to be perpetrated by women because they can get away with it. By now, most men know that they really should not make comments about women's physical bodies or their appearances, at least within earshot of those women in the workplace. But women's bodies are simply more objectified throughout society as a whole, and women unfortunately contribute to that objectification by consistently objectifying one another and even themselves. Women are socialized to give compliments to other women about their physical appearances. The widespread cultural objectification of women only exacerbates the severity of the problem because it sends the message that a woman's body is not her own. It belongs to the collective, and that a woman's body has no use unless it is in service to other people, namely men and children. When it comes to women's bodies, it is as though society remains a 1-year-old child who has not been successfully weaned off his mother's teat. It is like when a woman is pregnant, everyone feels that he has the right to put his hands on her tummy because her body is now in service to other people. When workplace bullies objectify, they too are diseased by a sick society and may simply be reflecting a historical legacy of unconscious programming that has existed throughout human history that teaches that women's bodies are not off limits. When workplace bullies objectify the target, it looks like a compulsion. It is as though the workplace bullies simply cannot stop themselves, as though they feel a real need to objectify the target. Like almost all workplace bullying techniques, objectification exists as a means for the workplace bullies to self-medicate the overwhelming anxiety they feel for whatever reason in the presence of the target. After workplace bullies objectify the target, they appear liberated and relieved, as though they have just gotten something off of their chest, addressed the elephant in the middle of the room, or simply taken a massive dump directly in the target's face. Because the target is an object, the target is being used like a cigarette or a drink. Though some people may disagree with me, I argue that workplace bullying is a form of narcissistic abuse, because the parallels between narcissism and workplace bullying are uncanny. Narcissism is on a continuum, so almost all workplace bullies at the very least exhibit narcissistic tendencies. Because workplace bullies are narcissists, objectification is not about the target at all. It's all about the bully and the bully's need to feel better. The feelings of the target have not been taken into account at all, which explains why bullies are so often surprised by the target's response. Workplace bullies are psychological rapists who refuse to take no for an answer, so they really don't like to be told that they cannot objectify the target, because they don't like to be denied their drug, even after the target has expressed discomfort with being objectified. Workplace bullies will excuse and justify their behavior as simply being friendly or complimentary. Workplace bullies objectify because that's their level. Narcissism is defined by many things, but one of those things is superficiality. A narcissist is at the core a dead and empty soul with no real internal life or self. Many narcissists may be highly intelligent and highly educated and have achieved high levels in their careers, and yet they are completely empty. If you've ever been romantically involved with a narcissist, you know you get one, maybe two good dates. The narcissist tells the same stories he tells everybody else and then falls silent because he's run out of script. With no internal life, narcissists are 100% externally focused, and they are very easily distracted by pretty shiny things. It's like a baby lying in a crib looking up at a mobile. Narcissists like glitter, sequins, and sparkles. When workplace bullies objectify, they are the proverbial kid in the candy store just pointing and screaming at shit. Workplace bullying is devastating, both psychologically and financially across the board, but perhaps the most horrifying thing about it is the cataclysmic emptiness. Being in the same room with a workplace bully is like staring into the void, and nature abhors a vacuum. Workplace bullies are like gerbils cycling and recycling on a treadmill through the lower levels of Maslow's hierarchy: food, image, money, sex, not necessarily in that order: wash, rinse, repeat. If you are not a narcissist and not a bully, you understand that Maslow's hierarchy is like a video game. After you pass one level, you ascend to the next. When you get up in the morning, you take care of your physical body. You shower, shave, do your hair and makeup, or whatever it is that you do, but you don't do those things all day long. Workplace bullies do. When workplace bullies objectify, they are dragging the target down to their level. Some of the worst objectification comes when the target makes a meaningful and intelligent contribution to a conversation. Workplace bullies turn the target into an object because they can't keep up with the target. Workplace bullying objectification is also a defense. Workplace bullies are pushing the target away because the target has gotten too close. All workplace bullying is an attempt to eliminate someone who has posed a threat to the narcissistic ego by not enabling that ego and not feeding narcissistic supply. Narcissists have compensated for their loss of self by substituting in its place a false self, otherwise known as the narcissistic ego. But the narcissistic ego is a flimsy, fragile house of cards that demands constant supply and an arsenal of defenses to sustain it. Any threat to the narcissistic ego feels literally life-threatening to the narcissist because he has nothing else. And something about the target has threatened narcissistic injury. Objectification is part of the discomfort phase of workplace bullying. When workplace bullies objectify the target, they put all attention and focus back on the target in order to distract from the fact that the mask is slipping. I have a theory that most targets of workplace bullying are empaths or, at the very least, highly sensitive people. If you are a target of workplace bullying, you may be able to read energy or at least intuit people's motivations and intents. Again, workplace bullies excuse their constant objectification as just socially normal and acceptable behavior. They're just being nice, complimentary, and friendly. If you are a target of workplace bullying, you know damn well that there is absolutely nothing nice about being objectified. It doesn't feel like a compliment. It feels like a slap in the face. You feel as though you are being slapped, hit, punched, kicked, and even shot. Workplace bullies almost never get physically violent with targets in the workplace, but they may very well want to. The objectification may be their passive-aggressive expression of their complete and utter hatred for the target and their desire to get physically violent with the target, and for that reason, objectification is a passive-aggressive form of physical violence. At the very least, when workplace bullies objectify you, you can feel this taking energy. The bullies aren't giving you a compliment or giving you anything at all. They're actually trying to take something from you. It's just not clear what it is. As targets of workplace bullying, we learn to look for red flags, signs and signals that we have a workplace bully on our hands so we can protect ourselves accordingly. Among the many things that define narcissism are a complete lack of boundaries and a complete lack of empathy. Other mental disorders may have poor boundaries, but narcissists have no boundaries. I argue that one of those, no boundaries or no empathy, in all of their many colorful manifestations like variations on a theme, will manifest almost immediately. All of the other characteristics of narcissism, the narcissistic entitlement, the narcissistic rage, the pathological lying, the pathological jealousy, the kleptomania, the narcissistic smear campaign with flying monkeys recruited for abuse by proxy, all of those may occur later on down the line. But the lack of boundaries and the lack of empathy may appear sometimes even during the first meeting with a narcissistic workplace bully. And I argue that objectification is both a lack of boundaries and a lack of empathy. Even when bullies are told that the objectification makes the target feel uncomfortable, they continue objectifying the target anyway because they lack empathy and they feel entitled. And objectification is a major boundary violation because it completely disrespects and disregards the universal human right of all human beings to have dominion over their own bodies. So that's an introduction to the workplace bullying technique of objectification. To read more in detail, I've written an essay on workplace bullying. It's on my website. I include that information in the description. The reason that I've created this video series is to create a forum where targets of workplace bullying can share their experiences and stories in a kind of support group. So you can know, number one, you're not crazy. Workplace bullying is real and your feelings are completely valid and justified. And number two, you're not alone. Unfortunately, there are countless others who have experienced the same thing. So I look forward to reading your comments and I promise to try to respond to each one. Take care.